Week 23, Day 1. Heterogeneous. Dissimilar.
Our algebra class is a heterogeneous one in which bright students are juxtaposed with slower ones.
Gamut. Range.
The actress ran the gamut of emotions in a poignant performance that thrilled the audience.
Perspicacious. Acutely perceptive, shrewd.
Senator Thorpe was perspicacious enough to realize that the scurrilous charge would have little effect upon the voters.
Analogous. Comparable, similar.
Although the lawyer acknowledged that the two cases were hardly analogous, he still felt that he had a good precedent on his side.
Maladjusted. Poorly adjusted, disturbed.
The Bureau of Child Guidance has been the salvation for some maladjusted children.
The distaff side. Women.
The men had brandy on the porch, while the distaff side gathered to gossip in the kitchen.
From A to Z. Ellis Sloan, a teacher of science at a large metropolitan high school, first paid little attention to the fact that his two biology classes were so disparate in their performance. In most schools, the classes are alphabetically heterogeneous, with youngsters' names running the gamut from Adams to Zilch. But Biology 121 had only A's and B's, whereas Biology 128 had T's, V's, W's, Y's, and Z's. Mr. Sloan, a perspicacious teacher, began to perceive differences between the two groups. While their reading scores and IQs were roughly analogous, it was apparent that Biology 128 was replete with maladjusted students, while Biology 121 had the normal ones.
Week 23, Day 2. Phenomenon. Unusual occurrence.
There was no paucity of witnesses to describe the phenomenon of the flying saucer.
Mortality. Death.
If a miner were to ponder over the high mortality rate in his occupation, he might want to quit.
Decade. 10 years.
After a decade of connubial acrimony, the couple decided to consult with a marriage counselor.
Susceptible. Easily affected, unusually liable.
Ethan Frome soon learned that his querulous wife was susceptible to a variety of ailments.
Neurotic. Suffering from a nervous disorder.
Irritability is one of the salient features of a neurotic personality.
On the qui-vive. On the alert.
My mother is always on the qui-vive for bargains.
What's in a name? As Mr. Sloan pursued his investigation of the phenomenon, he discovered that a Dr. Trevor Weston, of the British Medical Association, had corroborated his findings. Drive Weston had studied British mortality rates over a decade, finding that people, whose names began with letters ranging from S to Z, had a life expectancy that averaged 12 years, fewer than the rest of the population. Furthermore, those at the bottom of the alphabet tended to contract more ulcers, were more susceptible to heart attacks, and were more likely to be neurotic than those at the top of the alphabet.
Week 23, Day 3. Pedagogue. Teacher.
Mr. Ford is proud to be called a teacher, but he demurs at the title of pedagogue.
Enunciate. To utter, proclaim.
Reporters were expecting the candidate to enunciate his policy on the escalation of the war.
Inordinate. Excessive.
In an attempt to show how assiduous he was, the executive spent an inordinate amount of time on his report.
Irascible. Irritable.
His profligate son made the parsimonious old crank even more irascible.
Introspective. Looking into one's own feelings.
Since Alice is so gregarious, it surprised me to learn that she is also an introspective girl.
To get one's back up. To become angry.
Every time his mother mentioned getting a haircut, the young guitarist got his back up.
The perils of the alphabet. Drive Weston is convinced that the pedagogue is the culprit. Since teachers seat their pupils in alphabetical order, the S to Z child is usually the last to receive his test marks, the last to eat lunch, the last to be dismissed, and so on. As they are the last to recite, these youngsters feel frustrated, because what they had to say had usually been enunciated earlier. The inordinate amount of waiting that this group has to do causes them to become irascible and jittery. S to Z people also become quite introspective, convinced that they are inferior to those at the top of the alphabet.
Week 23, Day 4. Perpetuate. To cause to continue.
Don Ricardo hoped that his son would perpetuate the family business, but Manuel was too involved with chimerical schemes to want to run a restaurant.
Mandate. An authoritative order or command.
As a prelude to his victory speech, the mayor announced that he considered the large vote to be a mandate from the people.
Compensatory. Serving to pay back.
Compensatory education may help minority groups to cope with their plight.
Neutralize. To counteract.
Dr. Myers prescribed medication to neutralize the acid condition that had incapacitated my uncle.
Catastrophic. Disastrous.
If the draconian regulations are to continue unabated, they will have catastrophic results.
To bring home the bacon. To earn a living, to succeed.
The man's inability to bring home the bacon was the actual reason for the couple's incompatibility.
In the nature of educational reform. Mr. Sloane did not want to perpetuate the disorders that stemmed from the alphabetical arrangement. Not only did he reverse the seating in his other classes, but he began to badger the school's administration for a mandate to bring about such changes throughout the building. He called it a compensatory factor, to neutralize the catastrophic effects of the traditional policy. Soon, Mr. Sloane earned the appellation of Mr. Backwards.